Welcome back to Fit Focus Media, the show where we put the focus on fitness. Now, today we are joined by Tara Jenkins. But who is Tara Jenkins?
They hate when you elevate.
You don't have an ego in your team and you look at each other as brothers and sisters, and if someone's struggling for some reason, you're not going to be like, well, finish it, because that's what you're meant to do. You'll pick up the slack and do it for them, and you won't hate them for it. So I'd just say take the ego out and you've got a good team. I wasn't happy, but it is what it is. Like, however I'm feeling, I put it out there. If I'm feeling shit, I'll say it. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy all the time. And for some people, they're looking up to their life's perfect and it looks perfect and everything's going well, and it makes people depressed because then they look at their own lives, and more people need to just be honest.
Well, she's a person just like you and me. But Tara, can you do me a bit of a favour and just give a little bit of an introduction for people who might not be aware?
Okay, I guess I've been an athlete my whole life. My biggest sport's been CrossFit. I was competitive in an international level up until just before COVID. Since then, I've just been focusing on building strength and working in and around different gyms on the Gold Coast. So just living that fit and healthy life. And I might go back into competing eventually, but having a bit of a hiatus at the moment.
Very nice, very nice. And when you say competing, what is it that you were particularly competing in?
CrossFit.
Because that is an interesting one. We've been doing a lot of talks lately with people who are in that bodybuilding scene and the competitive side of that things. But you're actually the first person that I've spoken to who has done CrossFit, let alone done CrossFit at a high competitive level. How did you get into that sort of training?
I was doing Gridiron, and I I needed to get stronger. And we got a strength and conditioning coach for Gridiron, which he taught us things like cleans and deadlifts and doing all that sort of stuff. And I took an interest in that and wanted to give CrossFit a go. And then when Gridiron sort of started dying off, I went into a CrossFit gym and then just fell in love with the sport. So
was there anything particular that made you go Gridiron, say, versus other sports like, I don't know, AFL or rugby or this, that, and the other? Like, what was it about Gridiron in particular?
That you needed to be... I liked that it was more start, stop, and yet to be strong and powerful rather than just skinny and run 10Ks.
So pretty much you just wanted to run through people.
Yeah, that was my job.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then when it came to CrossFit, was there anything in particular that I guess, made you go that route versus a traditional gym scene?
I'd say the fact that there's so many different things, it didn't get boring. Like, I had to learn so many different sides of the sport. So there's Olympic lifting, there's gymnastics, there's normal functional training. We had to be good at swimming, running, like everything. So training was very diverse and changed all the time. So I never got bored.
I was going to say, you sound absolutely crazy to me saying that, because I don't know, it's just something about... maybe it's just that being in that like bodybuilding side, but whenever someone says the word CrossFit, I'm sure you have heard that there's a very negative stigma around that.
And I get it.
From your side though, from someone who has done CrossFit and you now do sort of, I guess, more that traditional like just bodybuilding style of training. What is that difference actually like?
Well, I think CrossFit's just got a negative spin because the videos you see online is like people doing stupid things and not necessarily with the best technique. But if you look at the top CrossFitters, look at their story and see what they do, and that's what you should be looking at. So it's got the sport's, I guess, got a negative view on it because of the bad things you see on social media. But yeah, for bodybuilders, like the ones that I know that have given it a go, if they actually give it a crack and do a smart session, not a crazy hectic session, they do appreciate the sport.
Yeah, I feel like it is probably one of those cases where it gets this big like negative stigma, but at the same time you can find people who do standard bodybuilding style of training or just going to the gym, and when you have completely incorrect form, of course it's going to look a little bit dangerous, of course it's going to look a little bit strange. It really comes down to the individual, not the actual sport or the style of exercise as a whole. When it comes to, I guess, the competitive side of things, like when did you sort of realize that might be, I guess, a good route for yourself? You really have like an edge for it.
I excelled pretty quickly in CrossFit. So after I started, I think I did a comp within 6 months. And that when I did that first comp, that was when I just had a massive mustache.
I was going to say, I put way too much ice in this, and all it's done is go to complete foam and froth. It's delicious though, so.
It's good. What was I saying? So I found out that like when I did my first comp and I just loved it, loved the vibes, loved the people. And I've been competitive pretty much my whole life in different sports. So it just sort of brought that out again. And then I wanted to train to compete.
Yeah. And you got up to like the highest of the high levels, really, didn't you? So like, what is that scene like? So we went as a team to the CrossFit Games, and that in itself was like I think as an athlete, as an individual athlete at the time, I wasn't great, but as a team, we just worked really well as a team. But from that point on, I got better as an individual just because you were surrounded by the best of the best, and it was so inspiring. Yep. So after that, that's when I went home and really did my work and trained my weaknesses, did all the things I didn't want to do, and that's when I became a really good athlete as an individual. But putting yourself in a position where you're surrounded by the best in the world is just like next level motivating. To touch on that a little bit more, where you said like it wasn't the best experience from an individual standpoint, what do you mean by that? Because I qualified as a team,
so it was 3 boys, 3 girls. We were all good athletes, but as a team, we were amazing together because we were all friends and we just communicated well, and we worked well as a team. But if you pulled out each athlete as an individual, we were good, but not good enough to go to the games as a solo person.
So it really just came down to that synergism, that trust with each other.
And that's really hard. When you get a bunch of individuals in a team, there's ego, and we didn't have that. So we worked well.
So again, I come into this conversation knowing absolutely nothing about CrossFit. I do that deliberately just so I can try and find out from someone who has been at that kind of level what it's like. When you say like a 6-person team, I'm like, what is that thing that you're all specializing in? What does the games actually look like?
You basically have to be, to make it to the games, you don't have to be the best at anything in particular. So obviously you've got to be strong, really strong. You've got to be fit, be able to do endurance events, be good at gymnastics. They've got strongman in there even, swimming, running, like everything. So you need to be an all-rounded athlete. So you've got to be good at everything. But if you're amazing at one thing, there's usually you won't be good at something else. Yep. So it's more about being well-rounded as an athlete, and you'll be a good CrossFitter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So with like, say a standard like day, like what does that look like? Like when you're going into like an actual competition, like how does that sort of like start? Like the exercises, the routine that you actually have to go through from like start to finish for say a CrossFit Games?
So the CrossFit Games runs over quite a few days. So a standard day would be, I think from memory we did the mornings, because you either do the mornings or the afternoons. Teams.
It already sounds like hell to me. Multiple days.
So it's like you get points for every event, and then at the end you find out who's the best team or individual. But yeah, we'd get up. Food is a big thing, like fueling. So eat the right food around training and competing. But wake up early. We'd spend probably before the first event a good 45 minutes to an hour warming up, and that means stretching, it means activating your muscles, working up a bit of a sweat, because usually you're going to get your heart rate up going into an event, and you can't go from being asleep and having some breakfast into having your heart rate elevated to its max. So it takes a good 45 to an hour to warm up. You do an event and then you sort of cool down, chill for a bit, and then do it all over again, and you might do 3 or 4 events in a day. Yeah. So it's a big long day of just highs, lows, like adrenaline coming up and then crashing, spike, crash.
That does sound intense as all hell.
Yeah.
When it comes to that side of actually fueling yourself for those kinds of events, that kind of performance, what does that look like? Like what is, I guess, like was there like a go-to like before games like meal that everyone sort of had, or was it just like, how do you go about that?
I think in this sport particular, we need carbs. Like I know bodybuilders don't necessarily.
Some of those too.
Yeah, I have so many, not so much now, but at the time when I'm competing, I have so many carbs. So like breakfast, all of us sort of had oats or like bread, toast, whatever we need, doesn't matter. Yep. But lots of bananas, lots of like if you've got oats, have protein in your oats, have a protein shake. So it's always high carb, but good carbs. Protein in every meal, a little bit of fats, but it's more high carb, high protein, lower amounts of fat. Before every event really. So between events would be snacking on, depending on the person and how they tolerate their carbs, but I'd be snacking on bananas, lollies. Others would be having like muesli, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying this episode so far. just wanted to take a second and ask if you could please leave a review on this podcast. And if you hear something you think could help someone else, share it with a friend. Word of mouth is really the best way to help these things grow. So please, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
So how like, did you just go to those CrossFit Games once, or was that a multiple time thing that you managed to
So we went as a team once, and then there's comps leading, like the comp that's just before the games, which is the best in Oceania. I've been to that 3 times.
Yeah. And how'd you go with those?
The second time we went in a team of 4, and I can't remember what we came, but we sort of bummed out a bit. We just missed out on qualifying again. And then the third year, I thought I'd give it a go as an individual. Like, I'll try. I was a bit scared, to be honest, because going out on the floor with your mates is like comforting.
Yeah.
And
you know you've got that support network around you, and at the end of the day, like, they're the people that you're doing it with. It's win or lose together.
Yeah. And then if, just say worst case scenario, if there's something happening and you need to sub out, you're like, dude, someone take over my handstand push-ups. Yep. You can. Whereas if you're in a, as an individual, you got no one.
Yeah.
You're just like,
you got to do it. You got to push through.
You can stand there and stare at whatever you're about to do, and for ages, and no one's going to back you up, sort of thing. So I was really nervous about doing that, but I needed to do it, I think, just for growth and for confidence. And I did it, and I freaking hated it, but I did it. And I'm glad I did. But I trained alongside of another 2 girls that had never gone individual, and they were in the same boat. They liked the team, but they wanted to try it, and all of us hated it. Never did it again.
Hey, I mean, at the same time, though, you got to try it to know if you like it or not. You could have done it and absolutely loved it even more, you know, so it's something you have to at least try. So it's still great to put yourself in that position and know what it feels like to do it.
Yeah.
When you say that, you know, you have to be like an all-rounded person, but you know, like, there is, like, I guess, there's always going to be, like, a specialty that you kind of do have. What was your, I guess, best thing, or the thing that you preferred to do the most? Or, you know, when someone needed to sub out, you were like, I'm in, give it to me.
Anything that was like real grindy, you know, where like you've got to keep pushing, like endurance based, where most people just sub out and they black out almost. I can just keep going.
Yeah.
So when it comes to high fitness, I can jump in and I recover pretty quickly. Or just brute strength, lift a heavy weight for reps, sub me in, I'll be fine.
Yeah,
so it's opposite ends, but I'm really, really strong, and then I'm also really endurance fit as well, which is not common.
Because I was going to say, like, we were talking earlier about, you know, like, say, like, the powerlifting movements, like, you know, you do have a very, very impressive deadlift.
Yeah.
Did you ever do more of the powerlifting side of things, or was the deadlift the, like, as primary one just because that factored in mostly to your CrossFit training?
Yeah, we did deadlifts because it's not that at a comp, I don't think I've ever done a deadlift as in for a 1 rep max, but deadlifts help your cleans, and they help like it helps a lot of other movement. So it's not something that we never train for powerlifting. Although in the last few years they've brought out bench in quite a few comps, which is never happened.
It seems like an odd one to have in there.
Yeah, and that brought out heaps of weaknesses because we don't do it.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't train for like powerlifting, but we do those movements for strength in CrossFit movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main reason for asking that is because, I mean, I just want to find out what your total is. Like, what is your squat, bench, and deadlift actually like?
Well, my bench is 97.5.
Holy shit.
So I haven't got that 100 yet. And my deadlift is 177.
Okay, that's...
And my back squat is 145. No, 150. 150. I hit that in COVID last year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you never, I was going to say, you don't do powerlifting, but you're pretty damn strong when it comes to their movements.
Yeah.
And are they 1 reppers or are they for reps?
Rep. 1 rep.
That's still freaking impressive.
No more than 1 rep. Struggle reps.
Good, clean grinders.
Yeah.
So how has training kind of changed now that you've sort of taken a bit of a step back from the CrossFit side of things? Like, what changes have you done? Is it mainly like a volume change or an exercise change, or just like a philosophy around training?
Well, now since moving up to Queensland, I'm in working full time, so it was more about fitting training in before work and still having time to like go feed my dog and get ready for work and go to work.
What breed? What breed?
A Cavalier.
Nice.
King Charles.
Nice.
Yeah, so now I'm limited with time, whereas before I could just hang at the gym for 3 hours. It didn't matter. So time was a factor. And then also I want to feel good and not so rigid and tight, and like my traps always sore and my neck was sore and my back was sore. So feeling good. So I've changed my training to Monday, Friday I do really heavy leg sessions, meaning like just legs, I'm not squatting heavy, but I'm doing high reps. And purely doing things that I can't do in CrossFit, like leg extensions and stuff, which hopefully one day if I go back, it'll pay off.
Yeah, have like a bit of a carryover just from the excessive training you've sort of done with it. Because at least I've found that when it comes to, say, strength stuff is after doing it for so long, when I was first getting into the gym, that being like the primary focus, and then stepping away from it, I can still go back to that stuff now, and it takes, not that long to get up to, if not stronger than where I was, just because all the accessory muscles are more developed and it has that carryover to it. Because I feel like, again, when you're doing, it's like when you are doing, just like those very specific movements, you get strong in the muscles that sort of are main focuses for it. And then when you start doing more of these accessories, that's where you build up the accessory muscles that kind of help actually do it. And they do have that carryover to allow the primary movers to do their job more efficiently and to do their job properly. Yeah. They're not trying to compensate for, lagging body parts and things like that.
And then also I found like one side, I hurt my hip when I was young, my right hip. So sometimes if I was doing a heavy squat, you know how you sort of dip out to the side? I'm trying to fix all that, doing the bodybuilding, so even everything out. So it's legs Monday, Friday, Tuesday I swim. So when I went to the CrossFit Games, there was an event and it was an open water swim, and I'd never done that in my life.
I would be terrified of that.
It was in a lake, so you weren't buoyant. And there was reeds and stuff. It was a dirty looking, like it was raining. So we had to do a 2.5K run into I don't know how long the swim was. It was long, no, because I wasn't used to swimming, into a 2.5K run.
Jesus.
And I cried.
I cried just looking at that. I sink. I do not swim. I just sink.
Well, when you've got muscle, you sink. And I didn't really know how to swim properly. That's the problem.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, it's harder for us.
Definitely.
So ever since then, I started swimming more, but then I found, as much as I hate it, and I still do, it helped my shoulders. You know when you get tight shoulders from all like the lifting, helped shoulders, helped lengthen my back. So by doing it, as much as I hated it, helped with cardio, and then it also helped with like the muscles that were super tight.
It would help with the recovery, plus actually being able to activate things properly again when you're going into a training session, because you've got your range of motion back.
Yeah, so it's really helped. Yeah.
So you said that you've, we talked about this a little bit. You've just recently moved up from Melbourne, of all places. What was, I guess, like the meaning or motivation behind making that move up this way?
The main thing was the weather.
That is the exact reason I did it. Yeah. Legit. Everyone was like, why are you moving there? I'm like, because it's 11 degrees and it's raining every day, and I feel like crap because of it.
That seasonal depression.
It's terrible. Yeah. Man. And then Victoria is like the worst place for it. Yeah. Like even here when it's raining, it's still warm. Fine. It's still good.
It's all right.
And even when it gets like cold here, it ain't Victoria.
It's not cold,
Nice. Was there anything else, or literally just the weather?
That, and then with COVID being in lockdown forever, just wanted to get out.
Nice.
So
because that is, I guess, you made a massive move, because you were very well established down in Victoria as a coach in your own right. So moving up here, it's kind of been just a 180 switch on the career and starting to rebuild that back up. So to make that massive move for like a weather commitment, it's a big one.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I was sort of just not thinking too far ahead.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, whereas I usually am, like I kind of know where I'm going. At the moment, I'm still winging it. But I was fully fledged, had my own business, had a gym set up at home, which was a really good setup, trained clients from home, coached at CrossFit gyms, had my online coaching. So I haven't been employed for 8 years. I've been self-employed. Yep. So coming up here, I knew one person, and I kind of didn't want to start the whole coaching thing again, because starting from the bottom with PT, you got to do like 7 days a week, train whenever anyone wants to train. So you've got no life. So I've just been focusing on my online stuff. But now I really want to get into the housing market and buy. So I've gone back into full-time work.
Yep.
But yeah, just winging it at the moment. Like I'd love to get back into coaching again, but I need to put my big girl pants on and do some adult things first. And then, eventually I'll probably end up competing again. But I just need to do these things that I feel like I've missed out on or pushed it aside because I've been so focused on competing for so long.
I mean, it takes a massive portion of your life. It's a massive commitment to training, to eating. It's you get up, you go to the gym, you got to do work, and then rinse and repeat pretty much. And trying to recover between that as well.
Yeah.
How did you actually go about building that business up in the first place? Because I know that's a lot of things that, say, new PTs or coaches do actually struggle with, is getting that client on board, making sure they're having a good time, they're delivering the best service they can do. How did you sort of get into that side of things and then actually build it up from there?
So when I first started PT, I had a really a lovely niche market, and I had one girlfriend that I was training for free, and she helped me with, she was a photographer, so she did photo shoots and stuff when I was playing.
Already sounds like an absolute
She's a legend. And she was actually a burlesque dancer. She was amazing, and she was really well known. She used to be a lead singer in a band in Melbourne. So she was just an all-rounded, sort of like a scene girl. She was just in that alternative scene. And so when I started PTing, most of my clients were heavily tattooed burlesque girls.
Nice.
And they've got their own little community. So people used to come from the other side of Melbourne to come train with me. So that was how I started. So I got burlesque girls and bands. Basically, dudes in metal bands.
Yeah, that is a very, very niche audience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like that would be one that actually is very, I guess, unutilized or untapped. Because you fall really well into that, I guess, category of being able to at least relate more so. And like, you feel like you'd be on the same vibe of that. Yeah. Like, you're wearing a jumper at the moment, but covered in the tattoos as well.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming probably, just would vibe really well.
Yeah.
When it comes to your tattoos, actually, is there any meaning particularly behind them? What's the go with that?
I mean, I've got a few. Like when I travel, I usually get one. Like I got the bear when I went to California.
Nice.
I've got one of my dog. There's lots that don't mean anything. I had a friend that was a tattooist in Melbourne, and she's just like, I just drew this picture and I think it'll look so good on you. So she'd send me a picture. I'm like, book me in.
Nice.
Doesn't mean anything. It's just cool. But yeah.
Do you plan on getting more? Because this is, I guess, this is like a tricky point for me as well now, because like I've got a fair few going on.
Well, I've had a few. I've had 2 removal sessions of a few tattoos, and it's so painful. Yeah, I've heard way more painful than the tattoo. That now when Laura, my training partner, is always getting little ones, and I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to get something else because I haven't had anything for ages. But the pain that it is to remove, I think about things a lot longer now, whereas when I was younger, I'm like, yeah, whatever, like get my boyfriend's name on my wrist. It didn't matter, whereas now I'm like, nah, that'll kill to get it taken, and it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So maybe I will, I don't know, nothing at the moment. I don't have anything planned. I'm just focused on other things, but that's not to say I won't.
Moral of the story, don't get your boyfriend's name on your wrist.
Don't get your boyfriend's name on your wrist.
Get Monsters in quotes.
Then you got to get all these cover-ups, and I've had a few cover-ups.
What was the one on your arm, the coloured one?
The girl?
Yeah.
That was just my friend that designed it, and it's the lady with the deer antlers.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
she just designed it, and I just thought it was sick, so nice. I might do that.
Because I mean, like say at the moment, like mine, the leg is quite, I guess, easy to tell if we can get it up.
Yeah, that's sick.
This is my flexibility as well. For anyone who's watching. So I've seen Marvel a couple of times. It's funny. People normally see the water bottle first and like, oh, that's cool. You like Spider-Man? And then I turn my
But that's a really good whoever did that did an awesome job.
Bali, man.
Really?
Bali.
Which place? So I've got a few in Bali.
Sabian Inc. Tattoo artist his name is De Niro. De Niro Tattoo.
What suburb is that in?
Seminyak.
Oh yeah. There's good ones out there.
Yeah, well, so the arm was also done in Bali as well. Tony Boy Tattoo, the guy's name is Shark Boy or something like that. Shark, yeah. All Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah.
So my tattoos are mainly movie references. Like this ankle is Toy Story. Toy Story.
I saw that one before. That's cool.
I got Lilo and Stitch on my foot. That one hurt like all hell.
Yeah, your feet hurt.
Only one that's being done in Australia. It was done by an apprentice. Took 4 hours, and we had to go back to get more colouring because it dropped out real hard. But I love it because it's kind of not perfect.
Yeah.
Which is kind of beautiful in a sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm now at this rut where it's like whenever I get something done, it tends to be a fairly big piece.
Yeah.
So it's like because this was my first tattoo, it was a 21-hour one sitting because Bali is mental.
You did 21 hours in a chair?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we started off with just the one part.
Yeah.
And then finished it. I was like, that's really cool. He's like, do you want to keep going?
What? So he just did 21 hours straight?
So it would take little breaks here and there, like to do up like the next part of the design. No, we just kept going.
Oh my gosh.
It's Bali.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like if you got a little bit of money,
and he would have been stoked to just have the work.
100%.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a night, and then so we finish up. It's like 7 a.m, and I have to get on the arm wrapped in glad wrap. I have to get on the back of a bike with 2 Balinese dudes who take me to an ATM to get out money,
however much
to
money.
pay for it. It was actually really cheap, to be fair. It was $1,100 for a full sleeve.
Yeah, that's cheap.
But the ATM that we went to, only the equivalent they had was the equivalent of $5 notes.
Oh no, they wouldn't care. They're just happy to get paid.
It's I have
but
to,
so many, like it would have been
legitimately,
wads.
I had to like max out the ATM like 4 times, and I'm just like, is my card going to get declined from the amount that I'm just like using this thing?
Yeah.
And it was 2 stacks that were like this big of $5 notes. We should have just laid down like, oh, you're like counting it as well in hand, and then it's like, good to go.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's huge.
It's good fun.
Yeah.
I think the worst part though was say down right on the like bottom of the wrist, and because this whole thing is outlined in white as well, so getting white done around the wrist is an absolute pain in the ass.
Yeah. I remember the wrist being painful.
Yeah, I was gonna say like what most painful ones that you've had.
I'd probably say I've got. These are the ones that I'm getting removed, but I've got swallows on my hips, but it's like more on my tummy, and that felt like, I remember that was in Bali too, and it was so painful. You know where you can't breathe?
Yep.
I was holding my breath and I was like just dripping wet because I was so sweaty from the pain.
So I this side here, I have like Deadpool running on my leg. It runs up to the top of my hip.
That area is
like,
so...
not even like as high as you went, and just like that top part of just shading.
Yeah.
It was so goddamn painful.
So uncomfortable. So that when you say that, that's like the first thing that comes to mind, because I haven't like... It was the longest tattoo of my life. Like, it felt like I was in there for days.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Bali, actually, you were touching on this a little bit earlier. When it comes to travel in general, you've done a fair bit of that, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, like, where are some of the places that you've actually like managed to go to?
When it comes to like fitness sort of stuff.
Well, I want to do a bit of both, really. But I mean, we focus on the fitness side of things. Like, as far as like directly related to training and fitness, like where have you managed to explore?
Well, Bali's a big one because it's not far from us. And I've done a lot of training camps there. So if I've got a big comp, because they've got an awesome gym there, CrossFit Wanderlust. I really want to get back there because during COVID, he just did it up and he added a pool and like,
holy shit,
it's epic. It's got a cafe and it's a really, really cool gym.
I need to go there because that's like the one thing that I was missing when I went to Bali is I just didn't know any good gyms at the time.
Canggu, that's the area.
Ooh,
so they've got like the CrossFit gyms, and they've got MMA and like lots of fighters down there and CrossFitters and yoga studios and boxing, and it's all fitness.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, sick. But I'd go there a lot for training before a comp because it's so hot over there. You get so fit because training in that heat's so hard, and then you come back to Australia and you're just a gun.
Yeah.
And it also just takes you away from work and you just focus on training. So
true.
I've been there a lot.
Outside of training, you literally just... It's just like such a beautiful place that like stress just like as long as you like stay off of your phone or like your laptop, you can just tune out, zone out, watch a waterfall, drink a freaking coconut and have a good time. Now I'm just getting reminiscent memories of Bali.
It's really so good. I'll never get over Bali. It's the best. But I've been to Bali. I've been to obviously Thailand, and
I haven't done that yet.
Thailand, cool.
I really want to go to.
Yeah,
I've always said that there's a tattoo studio that I want to go to. Bloodline.
I've heard of that one actually.
Yeah, it's in Phuket, and I really wanted to get my back done there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like maybe just Bali is like my place for tattoos at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have heard of that. I have heard of that tattoo.
I get completely off track whenever I hear of somewhere I know there's a tattoo shop that I want to go to.
Thailand, it's just like Bali. They're full of them.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
What is it actually like compared to Bali?
I think Thailand has better shopping if you go shopping. No, I don't really do that much anymore, but better for shopping. I think Bali is better might be slightly cheaper in Bali. For touristy things like doing treks and all that sort of, it's muchness. Because I've seen more of Bali now. I was
going to say, like, when it comes to like the touristy things or the beautiful things or like the hidden location, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know we say Bali. The great thing about it, but also I guess a negative in a sense, is you can get a scooter and you can go from one end to the other in 2.5 hours.
That's what I was going to say. Bali's like you can go everywhere quickly. In Thailand, I've only been to Phuket. And Thailand's pretty big, and I've only seen a small part of it. So I'd say for convenience, Bali, if you're doing one trip. But Thailand, I'm sure, has got many other beautiful places I just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, because I know like a goal of mine when I was younger, still, I would love to do at some point, would be to do like Thailand, Cambodia, like Vietnam, like Laos.
I've been to Vietnam.
Just all of them.
Yeah. Do a whole Southeast Asia trip.
Yeah, like, that whole... Get a motorbike or whatever, or a scooter and just like ride through them all and just and go crazy for a little bit. I think that would be...
It'd be cheap too.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
So cheap over there.
Whereabouts else?
I've been to America for the games. So I've been to America a couple of times, but over there I've been to LA, San Fran. I've snowboarded in Lake Tahoe.
Nice. That's cool.
I've been to Chicago. The games was in Madison, Wisconsin. Been to Mexico.
Hey,
That was
nice.
cool. San Diego. Been to Europe. Did a backpacking trip in Europe, which was pretty cool. I'd love to go back there again. So much history. Like, America's very similar to Australia, whereas Europe's just like, it's so old. And every place that you go to, like, the architecture's completely different, which is really cool.
I was gonna say, like, to touch on, like, I know that I said when I was living in the UK, I didn't get to do, like, you know, I didn't get to do like the touristy stuff. There was only a couple of places I still did get to go. So I was in Italy for a few days. Architecture there is absolutely amazing. Colosseum was really cool. Unfortunately, when I was there, it was like getting repairs done, so a lot of it was actually covered up and you couldn't see it. But the buildings in general were absolutely awesome. Romania for about a month. That place was actually really cool. Still, the most surprising thing is that their internet is the fastest I've ever seen in the damn world.
Really?
It was ridiculous. It was like it was like $5 a month, and it was like 800 meg like download speeds.
Oh wow!
Whereas here, I pay a ridiculous amount, and
it's slower.
It cuts off, and I can't even play music half the time.
Yeah.
Good job, Optus. Cheers, guys. Throw you under the rug for that one.
Yeah.
How about so when it comes to America in particular, because that's, I guess, I would love to go there. It's one place I do want to travel around and see a bit. The goal at the moment is to actually, like, I want to get there through work, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I want that to be the means of doing that travel through that place. I feel like that's kind of like the goal that's been set, because I think it is very realistic and obtainable.
Yeah.
And I think that would just be an awesome.
You need to go to the Arnie Classic.
Honestly, getting into this, the goal that I had always said to myself is I want to shoot the Arnold Classic Ohio.
Yeah.
That is the number one dream, the number one goal. I've always loved that show in particular.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with the fact that the Arnold Classic was like the first expo really that we had in Australia. And when I first got into training and I went to the first one, which I think was 2016, that experience was just amazing, meeting so many of the athletes who were there, meeting so many of, like, just, the people that I looked up to at the time.
Yeah.
And then following on from that, like, the next couple of years while it was still here, just meeting some really, really awesome people. Like, one of the key ones that still stands out is, like, Rich Piana before he passed away. And, like,
when you were talking then, I was thinking about him because I met him in the Melbourne one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, I was there. So I at the Massive Joe's booth. Yeah. Because I still have a shaker that's signed by Rich.
I just remember staring at him, like, because he was just so different looking.
But such a nice guy when you had a chat
Really
with
lovely,
him.
yeah.
Like, you just have a bit of banter, chuck his arm around you, get a photo.
Yeah,
and,
he was cool.
You know, he was happy to stick around and have a bit of chat as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good expo year. I love that year.
I was working at that one in a supplement booth. Yeah.
Which one?
AAA supplements at what year would it be? Like 2015.
I was
or
gonna say,
something?
it would have been 15, I think. Yeah, 'cause it was either 15 or 16. It was the first year.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, like, it did drop off fairly hard in Australia. Like, the first year, everyone was there. Pretty much, like, all the internationals, Gymshark.
Whatever year
there.
it was real busy. Like,
yeah,
I remember you could barely walk
2015.
around. It was that busy.
I remember because I walked out of that just so amped up on pre-workout samples. That I was just
You got so much free stuff.
legitimately.
Yeah.
This was like it sounds like such a cheap ass move. Like, the biggest disappointment, like, going to the following few years, was like that first year. I walked out of there with like 2 bags that were like
The last for months.
It was like 2-3 months worth of just pre-workout and protein samples, good to go. And I remember BSN was there, and they had like a tent booth. You could just walk in, and like it was like Syntha 6 just on tap. And just fill up a shaker. It was fantastic.
So good. I missed that.
What was it like to work at one of those?
It didn't feel like work because you're just people watching all day. Like, the people that come in there, and like, you just have good conversations with people. It was easy work.
Yeah.
But it was full on, like, tiring because there was just so much happening. Not tiring for the actual work you had to do, but just like so many people around and so much going on. So at the end of the day, you felt hungover.
Yeah. So were you already like a pro in CrossFit before that, or was that on the journey to get there?
That was when I was playing Gridiron.
Real?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
So I was doing just bodybuilding and Gridiron.
So you like, did you also go like fairly high level at Gridiron as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So I played for Victoria. Shit. Our old state. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever
That's awesome.
I've got like tunnel vision. So if I do something and I like it, I become obsessed with it. And then I get to the top and then I'm like, what's next? It's like a good thing and a bad thing.
Holy shit, that's dope.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what to say after that. Wow. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, so
I guess when it comes to that, so you said you were working at a supplement booth there.
Yeah.
So were you sponsored by those guys?
Yeah.
How did you get into, I guess, the realm of, say, like companies approaching you to do partnerships and sponsorships and all that kind of thing? So
it's evolved over time. But that shop was, do you remember AAA supplements? They're all over Melbourne.
Yeah.
There was one near my house.
I'm not gonna lie, I do actually remember that booth being there.
And we had a what was it? It was like a boxing thing. I think you had to punch a thing and it rated how hard you punched, and if you won, you got something. I don't remember what it was, but it was hilarious.
Did little me actually probably see you there?
Probably. I reckon, because that was the year I was working there. But with them, there was a girl in our Gridiron team that worked there, and she basically got me sponsored. So, and then I would do stuff like that with them. So that was my first sponsorship. And then basically just over time with Instagram, I started that as like a training diary, really. Because like when I first started doing CrossFit, I was learning how to clean. And if I scroll back to the videos when I first started, like it's so bad. Like,
challenge for someone. Scroll back and send me
don't scroll back too far.
Scroll the whole way through. There's a lot of posts there. Go all the way back and just send me some of those so I can pop in.
Learning how to snatch, learning how to clean, and I'm just like, at the time, I'm like, man, I'm getting good. And if I look at it now, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, 100%.
Why did you post that?
There is an Instagram account of me out there that I hope no one ever finds.
Oh, like a different one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hope no one ever sees that.
It's like MySpace. Don't look at that.
Exactly. Because at the time, it's like, doing so good.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then you look back and you're like, holy shit.
Why did I post that?
What was I doing?
Yeah. So that's where it started. And then I sort of just documented it. And then sometimes I'd post like, 6 months ago, this is what it looked like. Now this is what it looked like and what I've done. So it was sort of more educational.
Yep.
I had a really good coach and he taught me everything. I just used it as a progression sort of thing, and then it built up over time. Then when I started competing at big comps, that's when I started getting sponsors.
Yep.
And now I think it just comes like as your following builds, I get people approach me all the time, but you don't necessarily want to work with everyone.
Yep.
But if it's a good company and my values are aligned with theirs, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
How did you go about actually building that social media presence?
It wasn't intentional. So initially it was, like I said, just training videos and whatever. I don't even know how many followers I had or whatever, but I remember when I went to the games, it seems like every time I've traveled, it grows. So because I get around to different gyms and I'm always meeting people. But when I went to the games, it grew a little bit more. And then it really started growing from when I went as an individual athlete.
I was gonna say, when you say a little bit, I feel like our like gauges of a little bit are probably very different here. Being when you are at like 170,000. So I feel like when you say a little, like is that like 100 follower boost or is that like a 5,000 follower boost?
So from when I was competing at the games, I think I had maybe like 5,000. And then when I started competing and getting ready to go individual, then it went to, I remember I had a podcast interview and he's like, he said, you got 27,000 followers. How does that make you feel? And I was like, I don't know why people follow me. I'm just posting what I do every day. And I remember it was 27 and then it grew a shitload over lockdown. So I was training in my garage and just doing work.
Yeah, I guess because that's the sort of stuff that everyone was forced to turn to, and it was like that motivation of, hey, sure, we're in a shitty situation at the moment, but it's no excuse. You can still do it. You can still make it work.
Yeah.
And you can still get it done proper.
Yeah. And then even being honest with things, like I gained weight in lockdown. I got thick and I wasn't happy, but it is what it is. Like I don't try sort of however I'm feeling, I put it out there. If I'm feeling shit, I'll say it. Like I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy all the time and I'm just straight. Like if I'm going through shit, I'll talk about it to an extent, but I'm not like, I don't pretend everything's butterflies and rainbows all the time because it's not with anybody. So I get a lot of feedback on that because people want to see that because they look at people and to some people they're looking up to their life's perfect and it looks perfect and everything's going well and it makes people depressed because then they look at their own lives and more people need to just be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you don't really give too many shits when it comes to that actual number, and like it was just a bit of fun. But were there any of those milestones that actually like sort of felt, I guess, like a big deal or a big hit? Like like when you first hit like say 10K, what 50K, 100K.
I remember when it was 100, when it ticked over, I'm like, whoa, that's like so many. And I was thinking about like football grounds. I'm like, with that many people.
Yeah, true, eh?
Yeah. Oh my
Filling
God.
it out. Jesus.
Yeah.
Actually, I was like that when it hit 1,000. I was screaming like a little girl. Actually, I was like that when it hit bloody 400 and 500.
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling.
I think over time, like I remember when it hit 100,000 and a few people that I used to train with were just like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And then now it's sort of like, it naturally grows over time, I guess, when you've got more followers, more people are seeing your stuff, and it makes it more, I don't know how the algorithm works, but it just slowly grows. But I've found in the last, I reckon maybe the last 6 months, along with that comes just people that just give you shit for no reason. Like, and I see it happens to other people too, and it's part of it. If you're putting yourself out there, you're going to get shit. But that's like the negative side of it. And just like so many creeps.
So many creeps.
So many creeps.
Hey, I mean, it's like we can't always have, I guess, you can't have positives without negatives.
Exactly.
At the same time,
my mum's always like, well, you put yourself out there, so you got to take it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's like, at the end of the day, all it is perspective. Because if you didn't have, lows or, bad points, then there would actually be no high in any sense. Because it's that difference between it that actually creates it realistically. Yeah. Because again, we had a bit of a chat about this, other platforms such as TikTok. You said you've just started posting on there as well, just sort of like venturing over with the same style of content.
Yeah.
How has, I guess, that transition been for yourself? Like, have you found that there's better engagement on there, about the same, a little bit less?
It's different. Like, I think with Instagram, the people that follow you are, they sort of know you. I feel like they would know me a bit more personally, whereas TikTok seems like whoever can do a 5-second video and get the most hits. It's not more, it's about entertainment.
Yeah, TikTok seems like it's more like how much shock and awe can you do in the first few seconds?
Yeah.
Or how well can you just grab someone's attention to pull them through for like a timer countdown or something like that. Whereas Instagram is a little bit more, I guess, actually getting to know the person itself rather than, same exactly what you said, pretty much getting to know the person versus entertaining someone.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like with TikTok being just such an endless scroll of video content in particular, which is, very engaging, it does just have to be in your face. How can I make you stop for a second and pay attention?
So
whereas
I don't
Instagram, I was going to say, like Instagram, you've got that bit of a mixture where it's like, sure, there's videos, but there's also photos, there's also, ads and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So it's a little bit less demanding, I guess, to try and rip someone straight away. Yeah.
I think TikTok's good for like comedians and all the people doing dances and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's cool. But I'll just keep sort of posting across what I do, but I think it would be harder just because my content's a little bit more educational and you need more time for that.
Yeah.
And people don't want to watch for too long. So, and it's different. Like, Instagram, my friends and followers on there are a bit more just, I'd say, caring, whereas TikTok, they're a bit more brutal. It's a different audience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What has been the highlight of your training career so far?
I would say it's all, like the first thing that comes to mind is just competing. Like, even the comp that I didn't want to do as an individual, just because each comp that you do, you grow as a person. It would have to be either competing or traveling to train, because that's cool. That's probably my favourite part, is being able to travel to do what you love.
Is there anywhere in particular that you want to travel to compete?
I've always wanted to do. If I had a good group of girls that I train with regularly, I don't at the moment. Everyone's a bit broken. But I'd love to do the Waterpalooza, which is in Miami. It's right on the beach. It's a CrossFit comp, but it's teams of 3. So you do there'd be 3 girls.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that, but I just don't. I'd have to get back into a CrossFit gym or find a gym that I'm comfortable training at and find a bunch of girls that want to do it. But that would be sick.
That you not only vibe with on a really good level, but also are as dedicated to the training and as tunnel vision as yourself.
It's hard. It's really hard to find that.
Then also want to travel and do that and go
have the flexibility to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. How long does it take to get into like a competition state? Like say because I know that when you were competing, you were probably, I guess, just living that lifestyle very consistently.
But for a normal person,
even say for yourself, where you are at the moment, like if you were to be like, okay, I want to compete again, like how long do you think that turnaround time would be to get back into it?
If I was to commit to the old training I used to do like 2 to 3 hours a day, I think 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would probably, because I'm just hard on myself now because I know where I can be and where I've been. So if I was going to compete again, I would want to be the same, if not better.
Yeah.
So I'd give myself a good probably 9 months to get out and compete again,
yeah, so
which is normal like bodybuilding anyway.
That's
but for CrossFit,
it's very,
like,
that's what I mean. Like, that's a very, to me at least, that seems like a very quick turnaround to not only get like the body composition back up to point, but also like the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the mental attitude towards all of that. It seems like a very, very good, like quick sort of, from where you are to get back into it properly.
Yeah.
For people who might, I guess, be interested in trying out CrossFit, or people who don't even train at all and just looking at getting into fitness in general.
Yeah.
Is there like a certain type of person that you think is better suited towards CrossFit versus like bodybuilding training? Like, yeah,
CrossFitters. If you look at, if I look at the gyms that I've been coaching at, the people that, people come and try it all the time, but it's people that are usually self-employed or like defense force, fireys, nurses, not necessarily doctors, but shift workers and people that are high achievers stick to CrossFit because they don't want to quit.
Yeah.
You've got to have a mindset that's you're okay to go to a really shit place often and just do it over and over again. Even though you know it's going to suck, you do it and you start to like, if you go to the gym and you don't go through that in the day, you don't think you've trained hard enough. It's like a weird mindset. You've got to be a high achiever to stick to CrossFit. Whereas I think some people, I have clients that I've trained over the years that say they want to do it, but just say if you're doing a workout and you get really tired, someone that's going to be good will just pick up the bar and keep going.
Yeah.
Even if they slow down, they'll just keep moving. Whereas someone that might be better suited to doing bodybuilding style training will just stop and be like, I'm done. I'm just gonna leave it here.
You'll take that extra rest between the sets and stuff like that.
Yeah, or they'll just pull out.
Call it early on the day and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is I should definitely not try CrossFit. Don't worry, that was already predetermined. I already knew that. It was never.
You have to be a little bit a bit mental and have that. You have to be a sucker for pain. So there's bodybuilding, you get that pain, I get it, and I find bodybuilding really hard, but there's an end.
Yeah, I feel like the main difference would be say with bodybuilding training, it's sure, you get that pain, you get that burn, you get the same thing in CrossFit, but your heart is also trying to punch through your damn chest because you're beating so fucking hard because you're doing cardio at the same damn time. Yeah. And that's what terrifies me because I'm like, there is no way.
It takes time. It takes time to build up to it. You're not expected to be good at it straight away, but it's whether you're prepared to just suck it up every day and keep building. But it's much easier when you do it with other people.
Mm. Is there anything that makes, I guess, from your point of view, a really good, have you seen teams that just flow and function really well versus teams that just clash and collide and just doesn't work? What are the main separating differences between those?
I'd say the clashing ones are when there's athletes that think that they're better than some of the other athletes. Mm. So it's ego. If you don't have an ego in your team and you look at each other as brothers and sisters, and if someone's struggling for some reason, you're not going to be like, well, finish it because that's what you're meant to do. You'll pick up the slack and do it for them and you won't hate them for it. So I'd just say take the ego out and you've got a good team.
Have you ever had any just massive, struggle points or issue points or where, you did think about just throwing it in and you were done? What was, I guess, the lowest low that you had to go through to get to those highs?
There's been 2 things that I can think of at the top of my head. One is gymnastics. Coming from a bodybuilding and gridiron background, I was very rigid and trying to be relaxed and flowy in gymnastics, and I'm heavy. I'm heavy for a CrossFitter. That is just always so hard. I see some girls get up and be able to do things straight away, and for me, that was definitely the hardest thing to I still haven't mastered it, but it's just hard. And sometimes I'd be like, nah, maybe this sport's just not for me. It's just, it hurts my body to do it. But another thing is don't date anyone if you're competitive that's at your gym. Because if you go through a breakup at the gym and then you're meant to compete, it's really hard and you just want to throw in the towel and quit altogether.
That sounds like it's speaking from a lot of experience.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not a good idea. Yeah, so I don't recommend that. That's the 2 things I can think of when I've thought about throwing in the towel. Fuck this, it's too hard, I'm done.
Being someone who does, I guess, like say come from that gridiron background where you said you do like those, like the more physical in their sports, like was there any, I guess, ever any urge or desire to go into more about the actual combat sports and stuff like that?
I've never really thought about it because I think the main thing is I'm actually not very coordinated. And I see like grappling and all that, I'm like far out. Like it takes me a good 10 goes at doing something before I can look sort of like what I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I haven't thought about that, but recently just like I've been so pigeonholed in CrossFit that I've thought about doing, trying some boxing or trying some MMA or something just to like give it a crack.
Yeah, because I started out in fitness with boxing, and it's something that I'd love to go back to doing just because as far as like a workout that just feel like it's so intense, but it feels so easy at the same time. Like once you get into the rhythm and you start to enjoy the sport, it's like you're putting yourself through hell, and you know your heart rate's going like crazy and you're exhausted, but it feels like you've just been dancing around really and like just enjoying and having a bit of fun. So I've always found that as far as like cardio work goes, that's always been the most pleasurable and enjoyable place to do it.
And it goes fast too, hey, the time.
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it does, I guess, have just that really good carryover to actually developing coordination and being able to do that sort of stuff. So like you said, you don't have to be perfect on the first day.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm not.
In there.
100% not. If anyone knows me personally, they know this.
So another thing I always want to touch on, you used to be a police officer?
Yeah. A long time ago, but
long time ago?
Yeah.
But like, what was that like?
Like I was very young when I did it, so I think that if I was to do it now, I'd see things very differently. But I just did normal general duty patrol sort of stuff. That's what you do when you graduate from the academy. But I did that for 2 years. It was good. Like with the night shift and everything, it wasn't a problem. The work in itself wasn't a problem. I enjoyed it. But I think I got in a bit too young. I was 19 when I got in. And I quit just before my 21st birthday. And it wasn't... I was at Frankston. You know Frankston? Yeah.
So, it was between like Frankston and Dandenong. When I was working in Melbourne, I had to get a train up from there one day. Get back, long day. Get in my car, driving down the highway, go to make like a U-turn, and I almost get T-boned because it turns out someone had slashed my tires.
Oh, where was this in Dandenong? Oh, Frankston.
So it was Frankston train station.
Yeah.
Slashed my tires, didn't realise. So as I've gone to make this turn, I've just completely slid out and almost just got absolutely T-boned by oncoming traffic. So
that's the stuff that happens out there. Like people are bored.
Yeah.
They do stupid things. But I tried it, and I think if I was to go in now, I'd enjoy it a bit more. But I left because the people I was working with, just
not a good vibe.
No, I just I look at it differently now. But as a 19-year-old, I thought that you would be sort of looked after and they'd guide you through. But there's just at the time, it's probably changed a lot now. There was no support.
Yeah.
I just had a bad experience. So gave it 2 years, and then I just got into a mindset where I was feeling really, really depressed, and that's where I got out and started real estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. What was the actual academy side of that like?
I found it really hard. So only in the past year, I've found out I've got ADHD. So at the academy, I struggled just to I remember I used to get in trouble all the time because we'd sit in like lectures or in classrooms and just have to listen about law. And maybe because I didn't have any life experience or not much. Now, when you're learning something, if you can relate it to something you've been through, you've retained the information. At the time, I'm like, I don't even know what these words mean. Yeah. I don't know what they're talking about. And I'd be listening, but I'd be like, I'd have to be doing something else. I'd be drawing. And I'd get in trouble all the time for drawing. But I couldn't sit there and watch, otherwise I'd fall asleep. So
you still managed to get through.
Struggled. Yeah, I actually failed one. Can't remember how many units there were, but I failed one exam by one question and had to stay back. And that was just I've never failed anything. I was devastated. But finished it in the end. But I found the academy hard because I also lived there. So I was living
there's no break ever.
There's none.
There's never a break.
Nah.
It's just 24/7. Just
Yeah. So living there, and then at the time it was 6 months. It was the longest 6 months, and it was really hard because I'm just not good at sitting there and learning. I'm good at doing things. Like whenever it came to practical assessments and fitness, I'd kill it. But sitting in the classroom and being give me that, I'm fine. But I struggled. But I got through it, but it was really hard.
Awesome. Now, a question that actually came through on Instagram that I just wanted to touch on. So, do you miss the days of working at Macas?
Said that. You know what? Macas was fun. That I have good memories from Macas, and I actually put on so much weight when I worked at Macas. Because I think we got free food if we're on shift, and then 50% off when we're not on shift. So like,
see, I worked at Macas as well. So
which one at Maui?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I pulled that up. Like, another one.
No, I liked it, but I was so naughty. Like that was at the time when I got into partying.
Yeah.
And then like I would have, if I was a manager, I would have hated me. But
definitely. The amount of times that I rocked up there at an ungodly hour for code discount for me and mates.
Oh, no, mine was more like I'd be out drinking in a field because I was in the country pretty much on a Saturday night, and then I'd get one of my drunk girlfriends to call and pretend they're my mum. And Tara's sick. She can't come in the morning. I'd start at like 6 a.m. and I'd do it all the time.
Jesus.
Like I was the worst, so unreliable.
See, at least I used to power through.
I didn't.
Because I had a shift, I'd still at least be there.
Yeah.
You were one of those.
Yeah, I was one of those. I was so cheap.
And then we get absolutely smashed because Tara didn't show up.
And then they ended up just giving me less hours. Like I think one shift a week for 3 hours, and then I just quit because I needed more money.
Nice. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I still have very, very fond memories of working there. It's one of those jobs where I still look back and I'm like, you know what, that was good.
And it was good pay at the time. I remember.
It was.
Yeah.
And it was like, at least for me, it was something that after only being there for like a few weeks, even, it just like everything that, because it is so, I guess, just like formulaic and you're doing the same thing very repetitive.
Yeah.
It became so easy realistically because it's like you know exactly how to do it. You know what you're doing. Yeah. You see like massive odds can do, you're like, oh yeah, sweet. And the time goes really quickly because you're always kept busy.
Yeah.
So comparing that to a lot of other jobs that I've done, I actually preferred it just because at least the time went quick.
Yeah.
And you were just hanging out with mates who were, the same age, doing the same thing, you crack a joke.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
It's a good first job, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you have a couple questions that came through on your end?
Yes, I had one one in particular that was because I train early. Pardon me, because I'm working full time now and I have to, like big girl stuff. The question was how long does it take to get used to getting up early? So they were saying 5 a.m. I get up at 4:30, but it's something that you need to do consistently. If you do, just say if you're really motivated on a Monday and you get up and you go to the gym and then Tuesday you're like, no, I'm just going to sleep in. If you do that, it's like you never get into a routine. But if you set your alarm for the same time every day, I do Monday to Friday, it's fine. Like maybe the first week or two will be a little bit hard, but after that, now I find Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm sweet. Thursday, I start to get a bit tired. Friday, I'm just like, oh my God, thank God it's Friday. Yeah. And you just get into that routine, but then naturally you get tired at night earlier. So your body clock just changes and it's just being consistent and just, like, I don't want to get up every day at 4:30. Like, I'd rather sleep till 7, but you just force yourself to do it and then it's easier. Yeah,
I think, like, because you touched on this a little bit, for me the biggest thing was because I was doing that for a fair few weeks. I think it was like around that sort of like month mark where it was like up at 3-4ish at the latest and then going to train straight away and sort of starting the day that way. It was really good, but the issue I ran into was just that when a meeting would come up last minute and it was like a later time, or like a project came up that just needed to get done by a certain date. So it would, I guess the key for doing the early ones for me at least was I had to be going to bed at like 7 or 8 because otherwise there just wouldn't be enough time to like wind down, fall asleep, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But when things started getting pushed back work-wise, it meant that
makes it harder.
Yeah, like 7 o'clock would come around and I'd only like just be getting in, or I'd still be completely like wired because I've been behind a computer screen for the past 4 hours and it's really hard to wind down, and then it would start to push back from 7 to 7:30 and then 7:30 to 8 and then 8 to 9.
Yeah.
And then when you get into that sort of range, it's like you can't really do it.
It's hard.
I mean, like I'm good with 6 hours of sleep for like a week, maybe.
Yeah, I think I get that about 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Like the thing is, if it's a good 6 hours, sweet.
Yeah.
But you can have a really shit 6 hours as well, depending on, like the amount of caffeine you've had through that day, how well you sort of just wind down and how much stress you've got going on if your mind's still racing about like deadlines or projects and things like that. So 6 hours can be great, or it can be the worst thing in the friggin' world. And it's really hit or miss. So for me, it was just, it got to a point where I just naturally was like, I wasn't waking up. Like, cause I was in the place where I was just like, wouldn't have an alarm or anything. and I would just wake up at sort of like that 3 or 4 mark, and then it just got to a point where, okay, now I was waking up at 6, and now it's still roughly around that like 6:30 to 7, 6 to 6:30 mark.
Yeah.
And the other main throw off was weekends.
Yeah, I still get up not as early on a Saturday, a little bit like maybe an hour later, and I still try to get my gym done early because then you got the whole day.
Yeah.
Sundays is my one day where I won't set an alarm, but I'll still wake up at like 7, which is not too late.
Yeah.
But I was going to say with you, if you have nights like that, if it was me, I would sleep the next morning, like make sure you're getting at least 6 hours, 7 hours, and then I would just train straight after work the following night and just change it to nights if it's like that.
Yeah.
As long as you can commit to moving for an hour, you can just swap it.
Yeah, I mean, like training wise now, it's still fine. I'm generally just like, I've kind of like scheduled the day, so it's like I'll, get up, work through the morning, and then as like my break from like work, that's when I'll go to the gym, so I can still have like, water through the day, because that was the other issue I was running into, was like hydration and like nutrition. So sure, I was like eating right, like when I got up and then I'd go train, but being able to actually wake up, have a proper breakfast, drink water through the first like 4 or 5 hours of the day, have another like meal before actually going to train.
Yeah.
When I got there, like around that so that 1 o'clock mark or whatever, everything sort of felt a lot better. And I could take a bit of a break from work between that 1 to 2:30 range, come back and then sort of get back into it.
Yeah.
And it's not too late to where caffeine's going to have an impact, but it's still good in the sense that it's like trickling into like the second period of work, so you're still like a little bit buzzed and having a good time.
Yeah.
That's I guess like the routine at the moment that I've found as being working.
Yeah. It's good.
That is, I guess, the only reason for that though is the ability to actually have that little bit of flexibility at the moment. I know that for the average person that is not.
Average person's 9 to 5, so you've got to pick whether it's morning or night. Like some people, me naturally, I think I'm more of a night person. I'd probably be better off training after work and staying up late and then sleeping in. But I just know that because I'm not used to working full time and sitting in an office all day, I'm so tired after work from doing nothing.
It's honestly the worst. Like the days where you're doing 20,000 steps, you feel $1 million. And the days where it's like, it gets to, 6, 7, 8 o'clock and you haven't even hit 10K yet. And you're like, holy shit, I feel like absolute crap.
Yeah.
I feel sluggish. I feel moody. I feel just sad.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the main issues that I was having with doing like a 9 to 5 desk job, was just the sitting down was making me feel like absolute crap. And I was taking that out on the people that were around me without even realizing that I was in a mood.
Yeah.
So yeah, being able to say get up and then, if I want maybe like go do like some cardio in the morning and then start work and then go train and do like warm up cardio before that to get the extra steps in. Yeah. And then you have dinner and you can still go for a bit of a walk around.
Yeah. It's at least you're starting your day better.
It's one of the massive things that just gets, I guess, I wouldn't say overlooked now, because a lot more people do it and they focus on getting those steps up. But one of the massive things that does make a shift in sort of just how you feel and how you live, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tara, man, thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you very much.
Anytime.
It was an absolute blast, actually, getting to get to know you a little bit and have a bit of a chat. And thank you for making the trip up here.
That's okay.
Hope you enjoyed the session that we did have as well.
Yes.
You put me to shame on T-Bar.
Then you got me on chest.
Hey, flies. There's like that Gym 80 fly machine, by the way. If you haven't used one of those before, go try it. They're amazing. But it is one thing that I am actually slightly decent at. Yeah. So I will take the victory on that one.
Take it. Take it.
Again, thank you very much for coming on the show.
No problem.
Is there anything else that you would like to say that you think could be helpful for, say anyone who's in the coaching side of things, that's looking to get into it, or anyone who is maybe looking to go into a competitive scene when it comes to sports or particular fitness or anything like that?
Yeah. With the coaching, I would just say, for me, like I succeeded from day one because I had a bit of a niche. So if you could think about what sort of client you want to train, and even if it's someone that you don't have any access, a type of person you don't have access to, you can sort of promote yourself to those people. I think that's a really good way to start. And then if you're wanting to be competitive in whichever sport, you need to find a place to train, a coach. I don't think you can get good without a coach. You need to have a coach at some point.
It has made a massive difference.
Yeah. So you need a good gym that you're comfortable at, because there's a lot that are just you'll know the difference between walking into one and feeling a bit uncomfortable, and then walking into one where it feels like home. So find your home gym, find a good coach. So whether that's the person that owns the gym, or you might even just have a coach online where you follow a program, and you might even do it's much easier if you've got them in person. But you need a coach, like you need a structured program to get better at whatever sport you do. You can't just wing it.
Yeah, I feel like if you're like getting, say, just into it, or you feel like something might be off, or like you're not feeling things properly or anything like that, then having it in person would be a fantastic way to go about it.
Little tiny tips is what you need, yeah.
So if you're already able to get a pretty good, like say, mind-muscle connection, and you know your way around training, I'd still say like going the online route with someone that you trust and, you know, will actually listen to has been phenomenal, at least for myself. It's just like removes that like you don't need to think about what you're doing. You just show up, you do the workout, and then you're good to go. And being able to like actually look back and just see all of the numbers that you've hit before is that like massive motivation, where it's like I go into training not even thinking about like what my rep sets or that's going to be, but as soon as I click on that like past exercises and I see exactly what it was, it's like, okay, if that's what it was this time, this is what I'm going to do this time.
And that's how you get better.
Exactly. And it's just sort of like pre-frames that mental state where it's like, well, now I've said this is this is the weight I'm going to hit for these sets.
And you do it.
And you'll do it.
That's a big thing is one thing I did, which I didn't mention, is I documented everything. So I was really lame and I had a training diary, and I even bought glitter letters and put my training diary on it. And I'd write down my session in black or blue, and then I'd write what I did in red, like the weights that I lifted. And then you do progressive overload. So each week you do the same thing but slightly different.
Yep.
And then each week, I'd up my reps or up my weight, and you can't fail.
Yeah, see, for me, like, I used to do training diaries and stuff like that, but the thing that like got me out of the actual diary aspect was the getting like lost in my workouts and like not being able to find like say the exact exercise that I did on a particular day again, because I wasn't like color coding or anything like that at the time. So that's why I've found that having the app route has been really beneficial, because at least that way it saves it and it's just one click and I can get back exactly to all of them.
It was old Tara that did that. Now I use a phone.
Yeah, exactly. It helps a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
One other thing, Tara. Again, we do want to say a massive thank you for coming on the show. It takes a lot of your time, and it is a bit of a commitment to come on. So we do thank you for that. I don't even know how to address this. You're the first guest who's actually come on since we have been able to announce this. We have partnered up with a group called the Body Collective, who is a physio group that works out of Brisbane. They're fantastic people. They're very heavily in the competitive scene as well, and they love everything that is health and fitness.
Yeah.
Recovery is a massive thing that sort of does get overlooked a lot of the time. It can cause issues when it comes to injuries, rehab, performance, all this kind of jazz. Even at the moment, I'm looking like a bit of an octopus.
I did see that today, yeah.
Thank you, Fraser. Feeling much better, although this one's still a little bit dodgy, so next time we'll get to that. But pretty much, we don't actually have the little gifty vouchers at the moment to give you.
Yeah.
However, the Body Collective would like to offer you a free session to go in and get checked out, get fixed up.
Yeah.
So in placement of that, I'll also, from our end, here's a Starbucks gift card as well.
Nice.
So go grab yourself a coffee on us,
you.
as well as, check out the Body Collective on Instagram, drop them a message. They're already aware that you've come on the show.
Yep.
And then, when you're back up Brisbane way at any point, drop in and see the team. And get yourself fixed up.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching the show. If you do have any questions for us or for Tara, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And if you have found this useful, please do feel free to share it with someone else who might find it useful. Outside of that though, thank you for listening, and we're out.
Hey, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did find something useful, please do share it with someone else you think could find it useful as well. If you're over on Spotify, please do leave a review as well. If you're over on YouTube, consider dropping a subscribe, a like, a comment, and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.